Prince Harry and his American wife, Meghan Markle, have made their first public appearance in Europe since giving up their royal roles more than 2 years.
It is such an honor to be here tonight, celebrating all of you and supporting my husband in the Invictus Games, which he found.
The reason she was late,
Yes.
it was basically because it's Harry's show, and Harry to begin. And
The palace walls are shaking tonight, and Meghan Markle just got hit with news that's left her absolutely devastated. Sources close to the royal family just dropped the most explosive bombshell of the year, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this. The Duchess of Sussex has been completely shut out from attending the upcoming Invictus Games, and the way it all went down, absolutely brutal. But here's what makes this story so wild. This isn't just about one event. What the royal family's been planning behind closed doors for months is finally coming to light. And it's way bigger than anyone expected. The coordinated freeze-out, the secret meetings, the replacement strategy, it's all been carefully calculated. And when you find out what veterans themselves have been saying about Meghan and how Netflix tried to turn their sacred healing space into a reality show, everything starts making sense. So let's dive into exactly what happened, because this story has layers you won't believe. Real quick, smash that like button and subscribe with the bell on, because what's coming next is going to blow your mind. The veteran backlash, the Netflix disaster, Harry's breaking point. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Let's get into it. Meghan had her whole Invictus comeback mapped out for months. We're talking full-scale planning here, outfit coordination down to every single appearance, media interviews strategically scheduled, photo opportunities, carefully timed. She'd been working on this behind the scenes, building what she thought would be her triumphant return to the veteran games. And get this, she'd already started pitching Netflix on doing exclusive behind-the-scenes coverage of her emotional reunion with wounded warriors. The streaming platform was interested in capturing what they saw as a powerful redemption story. Word is Meghan saw this as her moment to prove she still matters on the international stage, that she could still command attention and show the world she's relevant. This wasn't just about showing up at an event. This was supposed to be her big comeback.
So special to be here, and I'm sorry that I'm a little late for the party, just like so many of you.
The moment where she reminded everyone that she could still make headlines and connect with causes that matter. But what's interesting is that while Meghan was busy planning her grand return, King Charles, Prince William, and Catherine had been having their own conversations. Secret meetings about the Sussex situation. Discussions that Meghan had no idea were even happening. And from what we're hearing, they all came to the same conclusion. Meghan wasn't coming back to Invictus. Not now, not ever. They were prepared to make that perfectly clear, no matter how uncomfortable the conversation might be. The timing of this whole thing is insane, too. This decision came right after Harry's sketchy Canada trip, the one where he didn't tell Buckingham Palace what he was doing or who'd approved it. That's when the family decided they were completely done playing games with the Sussexes. They'd been watching for years, the competing events scheduled to clash with royal appearances, the conflicting statements released at strategic times, the constant attempts to overshadow every major royal moment. From their perspective, it had gone on long enough. Word from people in the know is the family made their position clear exactly where things stood. No red carpet for Meghan, no official photo opportunities, no Netflix camera crews following her around capturing content. No tearful embraces with veterans staged for the cameras. Nothing. Zero access. The message was direct and there wasn't any wiggle room. This wasn't a maybe we can work something out situation. The door was shut and they meant it. When the news finally reached Montecito, Meghan's reaction was explosive. She'd been counting on this appearance to rehabilitate her public image, to show everyone she could still be part of the royal sphere, even after everything that's happened between her and the family. She saw Invictus as proof that her royal connections still meant something, that she hadn't been completely cut off from that world. Now that entire strategy was destroyed.
But this is the thing, I do find it a bit objectionable for anybody to turn up who's just got their transatlantic flight and get all that, their multi-million-pound...
The woman who thought she could reinvent the monarchy on her own terms, who believed her Hollywood influence could reshape royal traditions, was being told in no uncertain terms that she wasn't welcome at one of its most meaningful, charitable events. And that rejection hit harder than anyone expected. Listen, when Meghan realized the palace wasn't bluffing about this, things got wild. Reports suggest she went into complete crisis mode the moment she understood they were serious about keeping her away from Invictus. She started calling everyone she knew with any kind of royal connections, trying to find someone who could help her reverse this decision. We're talking frantic phone calls at all hours, reaching out to former courtiers, distant royal relatives, anyone who might have some influence. People close to the situation say she was practically begging these contacts to intervene on her behalf, to talk to the family and get them to change their minds. The conversations were really emotional too. Sources claim she broke down multiple times during these calls, getting tearful as she tried to make her case for why she should be allowed back at the games. Check this out. She even considered flying to London unannounced, just showing up at Buckingham Palace to confront the family face to face about the whole thing. Can you imagine? Her team had to talk her down from that idea because it would have been a disaster. Showing up uninvited, demanding an audience about Invictus, that would have made everything so much worse. But Meghan didn't stop there. She reached out to veterans she'd worked with during previous Invictus events, the ones who'd seemed supportive of her before she was hoping they'd publicly advocate for her inclusion, maybe release statements or go to the media about wanting her there. Those conversations didn't go how she expected, though a lot of the veterans she contacted brought up concerns about the media circus that seems to follow her everywhere. They were polite about it, but the message was clear. They weren't going to fight this battle for her. She even tried using her Netflix connection to sweeten the deal. Told Invictus people that the streaming platform could provide valuable coverage and financial support for the games.
So as much as these things are really helpful, like this particular documentary, it doesn't negate the fact that the damage has been done. There will be...
It was basically a pitch. Let me come and Netflix will make it worth your while. That approach backfired spectacularly. The people running Invictus made it clear they weren't interested in turning their sacred veteran event into a Hollywood production centered around one controversial person. They didn't want the games to become content for a streaming service. Then came the news that really hit her hard. Meghan found out that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was being invited to attend certain Invictus events in an official capacity. That discovery sent her spiraling, because suddenly it wasn't just about being excluded. The royals were actively replacing her with someone they actually trust and respect, someone who could represent the family without all the drama and complications. Back in Montecito, the situation became really tense. Staff members say they heard raised voices coming from inside the house during this time. There were serious arguments happening behind closed doors as Meghan struggled with the reality that her royal connections couldn't save her from this. The woman who once believed she could reinvent the monarchy, who thought she had the power to reshape royal traditions on her own terms, was now being shut out from one of the family's most important charity work. Her team scrambled to find alternative veteran events where she could make appearances during Invictus Week. The idea was to create competing headlines to show she was still relevant and still supporting military families. But even those backup plans were meeting resistance. Veteran organizations seemed hesitant to get involved with anything Sussex-related, worried about the controversy that constantly surrounds them. Now Harry gets caught in the worst position imaginable. King Charles called him directly to lay everything out about the Invictus situation. Word is that conversation lasted over 30 minutes, and it wasn't a pleasant chat. The king made his stance perfectly clear that Meghan showing up at the games would be seen as Harry going against the family. This wasn't a suggestion or a preference. It was a direct statement about where things stood.
Meghan Markle has been forced to leave the Invictus Games, axed by Prince Harry.
Harry tried to find some middle ground during that call. He suggested maybe Meghan could come for private appearances, stay behind the scenes, keep a low profile. Every single suggestion got shut down immediately. There wasn't any wiggle room on this one. When Meghan heard what her father-in-law had said, those close to her say she was devastated. She couldn't wrap her head around how Harry would let his family treat her this way. In her mind, this was public humiliation, especially for an event she'd helped promote back when they were still working royals. She'd been there at previous Invictus Games. She'd given speeches, she'd connected with veterans, and now she was being told she wasn't good enough to come back. The arguments between Harry and Meghan got so intense during this period that staff members were asked to leave the property. People who work in the house didn't want to be around for those conversations because things got that heated. The pressure Meghan's been putting on Harry to make a choice is intense. She's basically told him he needs to boycott Invictus entirely if she can't attend. Her argument is that if he goes without her, it proves he's still under his family's control and doesn't truly support her side of things. That's some serious emotional weight to put on someone. Harry's caught between supporting his wife and maintaining connection to the veteran work that's meant everything to him. According to those in the know, Harry secretly reached out to Prince William at some point during all this. He was trying to find some way to make this less painful, where maybe nobody had to lose completely. But William wasn't budging. He agreed with the family's decision to keep Meghan away from the games, and that wasn't changing. William basically said the decision had been made for good reasons, and there weren't going to be any special exceptions. This whole situation's taking a real toll on Harry's mental health. People say he's been struggling with the reality that his wife's reputation has made things impossible in circles where he used to feel comfortable. The veteran community that once embraced him as one of their own, that celebrated his service and his commitment to wounded warriors, now they're questioning his judgment. They're wondering if he's lost sight of what really matters.
But hilariously, Harry gave Meghan, his wife, quite a symbolic send-off by encouraging her.
From what we're hearing, Harry's been given one final chance to attend Invictus without creating drama. But it comes with strict conditions that aren't up for debate. No Meghan, no Netflix cameras, no competing announcements, and no attempts to make the event about Sussex family theatrics instead of wounded veterans. The family made it clear this is his last shot to stay connected with the charitable work that used to define his entire royal identity. If he can't follow these simple rules, then that door closes too. What the family did next was pretty calculated when you think about it. Turns out this whole isolation thing's been in the works for months, maybe even longer than that. It all started taking shape right after that explosive Oprah interview where Harry and Meghan aired all their grievances about royal life on international television. Senior royals had a series of private meetings after that interview where they sat down and mapped out exactly how to handle the Sussex situation going forward. They needed a plan, something that would work long-term without making them look petty or vindictive to the public watching. The Invictus block was just the latest move in what's essentially been a carefully thought-out game plan. Prince William's been leading the charge on this whole thing from the beginning. He's been coordinating with veteran organizations, reaching out to charitable foundations, making sure everyone's on the same page. The approach has been subtle but effective, quietly sharing concerns about how the Sussex media circus tends to overshadow the actual charitable work that's supposed to be the focus. Industry insiders claim William's team has been making it clear to these organizations that when Harry and Meghan show up, the story stops being about the cause and starts being about royal family drama. And most charities don't want that kind of attention because it pulls focus away from the people they're trying to help. But what's interesting about their approach is that while Meghan's been getting frozen out of these circles, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has been stepping in as her replacement. The working royals have been inviting Catherine to high-profile military events, giving her opportunities to build genuine relationships with wounded warriors and their families. And she's been doing it without any of the Hollywood drama that seems to follow the Sussexes everywhere. No camera crews, no documentary projects, no merchandise deals, just straightforward charitable work focused on the veterans themselves.
It's Harry and Meghan, because they seem to be designed for each other to blight the rest of the world. And yet, after
It's a stark contrast that hasn't been lost on anyone paying attention. The coordination goes way beyond just veteran stuff, too. Working royals have been sharing information with each other about upcoming charitable galas, sports events, and international visits. The goal is to make sure that Sussex appearances don't conflict with or steal attention from official royal stuff. They're basically creating a system where everyone knows what everyone else is doing, so there aren't any surprise Sussex announcements that try to overshadow official royal events. It's about protecting the monarchy's charitable work from becoming background noise in someone else's publicity campaign. King Charles has been working behind the scenes on his own approach to this situation. Rather than publicly calling anyone out or making statements that would give the Sussexes more attention, he's just been making sure that doors don't open for them anymore. It's quiet, it's effective, and it doesn't create headlines. Commonwealth countries have reportedly been given a heads up on how to handle things when the Sussexes try to make unofficial visits. The message is simple. Keep your distance. Don't give them opportunities that could be used to create drama with working royals. Stay polite but professional. The interesting part about this whole approach is that there haven't been any public announcements about it. No official statements, no press releases, nothing that would give the Sussexes ammunition or sympathy from the public. The royals learned from past mistakes that engaging in public battles just gives Harry and Meghan more attention and makes them look like victims. Ignoring them completely has turned out to be way more effective than fighting publicly. Even Meghan's celebrity friends have started backing off from royal-adjacent events. Nobody in Hollywood wants to risk their own relationship with the actual working royals by appearing too closely connected with the controversial Sussexes. The strategy's been so successful that veteran organizations are now reaching out to working royals on their own.
I could not love and respect him more, and I know that all of you feel the same because he is your fellow veteran, having served
without any prompting. This is where things get really uncomfortable for Meghan, because the veteran community itself started speaking up about their experiences with her. And what they've been saying isn't pretty. The problems go all the way back to Toronto 2017, which was Meghan's very first appearance at the Invictus Games. What the public saw as this romantic royal debut where Harry and Meghan went public with their relationship. Veterans who were actually there saw something completely different. Reports suggest that the focus of the entire event shifted almost overnight. Instead of celebrating wounded warriors and their incredible athletic achievements, everyone was analyzing Meghan's outfit changes and her public displays of affection with Harry. The cameras weren't on the athletes anymore. They were on the new royal girlfriend. People in the know say Meghan's team started making requests that pulled resources away from the athletes themselves. We're talking about private changing areas that had to be set up specifically for her, exclusive dining arrangements that required separate staff, extra security details that disrupted the carefully planned event logistics. These games have tight schedules and limited resources, and suddenly a significant chunk of that was going toward accommodating one person's needs. Things that the organizers had spent months planning got thrown off because of last-minute accommodations. But what really started bothering people in the veteran community is that at the Invictus events that came after Toronto, Meghan wanted to bring in camera crews for her personal documentary projects. Veterans started feeling like they were becoming props in her image comeback effort instead of being genuinely supported as wounded warriors. The sacred space that Harry had originally created for healing and athletic achievement started feeling more like a Hollywood movie set. Athletes who competed at these games have said they felt pressured to participate in photo opportunities with Meghan when they would have rather been focusing on their actual events. Some of them complained privately that they couldn't really say no to these requests without seeming ungrateful or disrespectful to the royals, but they were there to compete, to push themselves, to show what wounded warriors are capable of, not to pose for pictures that would end up in magazines.
In this moment of difficulty and division in many parts of the world, we gather here in Vancouver.
According to people close to Invictus organizers, things got even more uncomfortable when Meghan's team tried working out merchandising deals and business partnerships. The proposals would have benefited her personal brand while claiming to support veteran causes. That approach made a lot of longtime supporters really uncomfortable because it felt like the games were being turned into a money-making thing in ways that went against their original mission. Veterans and their families started noticing something else too that didn't sit right with them. Meghan was great at delivering emotional speeches when the cameras were rolling and the media was watching. She could cry on cue, say all the right things about service and sacrifice, make it look like she deeply cared. But those close to the situation say she showed way less interest in the behind-the-scenes work of supporting wounded warriors through their recovery and rehabilitation programs, the unglamorous stuff that doesn't make headlines but actually helps people. That's where she seemed to check out. Veteran spouses were particularly frustrated by how everything played out. Their partners had sacrificed so much, worked incredibly hard to get to the point where they could compete, and those athletic achievements kept becoming background noise for royal relationship drama. Families who'd given everything just wanted the spotlight on their service members' recovery and accomplishments. Instead, the coverage got dominated by speculation about Meghan's fashion choices and the state of her marriage to Harry. Invictus officials eventually made it clear to palace representatives that they had concerns about how things were going. They respected Harry's founding vision and his continued commitment to veteran welfare. That was never in question, but Meghan's involvement had become more harmful than helpful to their actual mission of supporting and celebrating wounded warriors. Harry's Canada trip ended up being the final straw for a lot of people in the royal family. When the palace started asking questions about who gave him the okay to go and when that happened, things got really messy really fast. The Sussex team kept giving different stories every time they got pressed for more specific details. First it was one explanation, then it was another, and the stories kept changing depending on who was asking and what they were asking about.
It seems to me there had been a chit-chat going on between their representatives and the representatives of the palace sitting there. What are they discussing?
It became clear pretty quickly that something wasn't adding up with their version of events. People in the Canadian government had no record of any communication coming from Harry's side about the visit. Even though his representatives kept claiming they'd followed all the right steps for Commonwealth trips, nobody in Canada could find any proof of that. Word is, when palace people reached out to the right folks in Canada to check what Harry's team was saying, they came back with nothing. There wasn't any record of Harry's team reaching out the way they claimed to have done. The claim about giving the palace advance notice about the trip. Turns out there wasn't any paperwork to back that up either. No calls, no emails, nothing during the time period the Sussex team said they'd made contact. The charity work Harry mentioned during his Canada visit didn't check out the way he'd described it either. When palace people reached out to these veteran groups to see what kind of relationship Harry actually had with them, several groups seemed genuinely confused about the whole thing. They hadn't been properly told about what Harry's role was supposed to be, or what rules needed to be followed for his appearance. Some of them didn't even realize there were supposed to be rules in the first place. William was personally hit hard by all of this when he found out the extent of what had happened, realizing that his brother wasn't just making honest mistakes or having communication problems. He was actively being dishonest about the whole situation. That realization changed something fundamental in how William viewed Harry's choices. What really shifted everything for the senior royals, though, was learning that Meghan had been involved in the whole Canada mess from the start. From what we're hearing, she'd been part of shaping the misleading story about how the trip was handled, basically helping Harry figure out what to say and how to handle questions while keeping herself out of the direct spotlight. It was strategic in a way that made it clear this wasn't just poor judgment or miscommunication. It was deliberate. This discovery completely shifted how the senior royals saw the entire Sussex situation. What they'd previously thought was just Harry being influenced by bad advice or making impulsive decisions turned out to be something way more calculated. There was planning involved, coordination.
She mustn't be in danger of being overhyped because you're pretty sure someone will go after her, and that's going to be a sad...
Deliberate choices to present a false version of events. When King Charles and the others sat down to review everything that had happened with the Canada trip, their entire perspective changed. They realized they weren't dealing with family members who were just struggling to adjust to life outside the working royal system. They were dealing with people who were willing to be dishonest about basic facts to avoid accountability. And that realization made the decision about Meghan's Invictus attendance basically inevitable. If she'd coach her husband to lie about something as straightforward as trip approval, how could they trust her at events that represent the Crown's values and military honor? When Netflix got involved in Meghan's Invictus plans, that's when things went completely off the rails in ways nobody could have predicted. The streaming platform had been secretly working on a documentary concept for months, developing what they thought would be their next big hit. The idea was to follow Meghan's emotional return to Invictus, positioning her as this misunderstood royal who's fighting to support forgotten veterans, despite her family treating her badly. Netflix saw massive commercial potential in mixing royal family drama with military heroism and veteran stories. They thought they could create something that would get everyone talking and bring in huge viewership numbers. But their proposals for what they wanted access to, Wild doesn't even begin to cover it. They approached the people running Invictus with requests for exclusive behind-the-scenes footage that would have completely changed the nature of the games. We're talking about turning what's supposed to be a sacred veteran event into reality television. Reports suggest Netflix wanted to film private therapy sessions where wounded warriors work through their trauma. They wanted access to intimate family moments between veterans and their loved ones. They wanted to capture emotional breakdowns of athletes struggling with their injuries. All of this for dramatic content that could be edited into compelling television moments.
To the Invictus Games, I think this was like kind of a reception before the official opening ceremony happened.
The whole thing was designed to pull at viewers' heartstrings while boosting Netflix's subscriber numbers. They wanted exclusive rights to interview wounded warriors about their injuries, their trauma, the darkest moments of their recovery journeys. And listen, this was all specifically for Meghan's documentary project. Veterans would have had to agree to participate in these emotional scenes that were designed to showcase Meghan's compassionate support. While cameras captured their most vulnerable moments, the focus would have been on how caring and supportive Meghan was being. The athletes' stories would have become background material for her image comeback. Now, this is where it gets really wild. Netflix suggested creating scripted scenarios for the documentary. They wanted to film Meghan consoling crying veterans, maybe mediating family conflicts, being there for emotional moments, but these wouldn't be organic moments that just happen naturally. They'd be manufactured situations designed to look authentic. The streaming platform wanted to stage touching moments that could be edited together into compelling television, regardless of whether they were real or not. Military families were horrified when word got out about what Netflix was proposing. These wounded warriors felt completely betrayed by the whole idea. The thought that their recovery journeys, their struggles, their most painful moments would become entertainment content designed to fix someone's public image. It was disgusting to them. The most outrageous part of Netflix's plan, they wanted to pay veteran participants to sign agreements that would keep them quiet. Basically paperwork saying these service members couldn't talk about their Invictus experiences with any other media outlets. Netflix wanted to own these warriors' stories permanently, turning their sacrifices and their service into something the streaming company could control. They'd be paying for military service members' life stories, so they could use them however they wanted for their content. When King Charles found out about Netflix's detailed plans for how they wanted to use the Invictus Games, his response was immediate and decisive. He made it clear that no member of the royal family would participate in any event that allowed streaming platforms to exploit British military members for entertainment profit. That was a hard line he wasn't willing to let anyone cross. The people running Invictus moved fast after that. They banned all Netflix people from future games, making it impossible for the streaming platform to get any access. And since Meghan's participation had become so tied up with getting content for her Netflix deal, this basically made her attendance impossible too. She couldn't show up without the Netflix cameras, and Netflix cameras weren't allowed anywhere near the games anymore. What everyone needs to understand about this whole situation is that the Invictus block isn't just about Meghan being kept away from one single event. King Charles, William, and Catherine all sat down and agreed that this represents something way bigger than just one appearance at the Veteran Games. They've been going through 5 years of Sussex controversies, looking at everything that's happened since Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. All the competing announcements, all the media appearances timed to clash with official royal events, all the tell-all interviews and streaming deals. And they've made their call about what happens next. William's been put in charge of handling all future Sussex-related decisions going forward. He's essentially become the person who decides whether any attempts to come back get considered or not. And he's made it clear through people close to the situation that Meghan won't be welcome at any royal or Commonwealth event moving forward, period. That's not changing, no matter what happens or what excuses get made. King Charles agreed to a completely new approach for handling Harry and Meghan from here on out. They're being treated as complete outsiders now, with no special consideration given just because of family relationships. They'll be handled exactly like any other celebrity who tries to get royal access or use royal connections for personal gain. But what makes this really final and permanent is that the family's committed to a plan of total non-engagement with everything Sussex-related, no responses to whatever statements Harry and Meghan put out, no acknowledgement of their charity work or business ventures, no public reactions to their media appearances, podcast episodes, or Netflix shows, nothing. Complete radio silence. This approach was specifically designed to cut off the one thing Harry and Meghan desperately need to stay relevant: ongoing royal family drama. Without the conflict, without the back and forth, without the palace responding to their accusations.
Turn into the right. All the way right. You get both of you right here, please.
They lose the content that drives their media attention and keeps their streaming deals valuable. The drama is what people tune in for, and the royals have decided to stop playing that game entirely. There's also been talk among senior royals about Harry's remaining ceremonial military roles and whether those still make sense. The question being asked behind closed doors is whether these roles work when his wife keeps attacking the family he's supposed to represent. It's a difficult conversation, but one that's happening. The family's also been talking with Commonwealth countries to make sure everyone's on the same page about how to handle the Sussexes during any future unofficial visits they might try to make. The goal is to stop Harry and Meghan from creating their own version of royal work, or trying to set themselves up as some kind of alternative royals in different countries. What makes this decision so permanent is that the senior royals have accepted something really difficult. Harry might never come back to the family fold. They've made peace with the possibility that Meghan's influence has changed him in fundamental ways that make them getting back together impossible. It's not about holding grudges or being vindictive. It's about accepting reality and protecting the family from more problems. The Invictus block wasn't just about keeping her away from one event or sending a message. It was about drawing a final line and ending the Sussex royal story completely. And judging by the silence coming from Montecito, Meghan's finally starting to understand that her royal relevance has died completely. So, what do you think about all this? Was the royal family right to draw the line, or did they take it too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story shocked you, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because trust me, the royal drama is far from over. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.